powered by the Law Office of Theodore London. It's time for the 3:30 Focus. Today's 3:30 Focus is powered by the Law Office of Theodore London.
We are back on Afternoons with Egoin and Buchanan. It is 21 before the hour, and you know what that means. On a Thursday, it is time for the Legal Line with Attorney Ted Theodore London. Attorney London, how are you today?
Hey, Tiber, how are you this afternoon?
I am fantastic, and we are joined by the First Lady of the afternoon show, Attorney Kimberly Egoin.
Well, I have a bone to pick with Attorney Kim.
What did I do?
Well, you weren't here on the last couple of Thursdays.
Yeah.
Attorney Kim, I don't care if you're in jail, if you got coronavirus, or traveling to Tahiti. Thursdays, I need you here.
Well, 1 out of 3. I definitely had the coronavirus. Still trying to get over it. Attorney London, you won't believe this.
Yes, sir.
Because it's like I can go all day almost without coughing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm on my way here, I start coughing. But listen to your mother, because she said, girl, put some of that Vicks Vapor Rub on.
Got it.
I have never worn Vicks Vapor Rub outside the house until today, and it's actually working.
Well, let me say this to you, Attorney Kim. I was listening to you yesterday, and you really sound, you know what, you really sound the raspy voice a little bit. You know, believe it or not, your phone is probably blowing up.
Oh, because of the
raspy voice. Yeah, you're probably getting more date proposals than ever.
Oh, wow.
Yes, indeed. So, ask the corona, can you keep that?
Can I keep that? Okay. Just take up smoking or something.
All right, so it's time for full disclosure, Attorney London, because I thought the same thing yesterday. I didn't say anything to Kim, but on Facebook I posted. I said, "Hey, is it me, or do women really sound sexy when they have a cold?" And all those people tried to tell me that it was just me. So I'm so glad that I'm not by myself. And so I'm good now. I'm good. I thought.
Yeah, I was listening yesterday. I was like, "Oh, that little Kim."
So imminent death sounds really good on the women, real good on the ladies, guys.
Now you got to tell us about that song, Attorney London.
Oh yeah, because I think I know the voice.
Oh, that's Pieces of a Dream. That's the band, and the tune is Fofifo, F-O-F-I-F-O. And so I'm sure that's going to give someone a lead for the big lottery big game. When is that? Is that tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
Friday with the 1 billion plus. So if any of you are going to play the Fofifo because of this song, and if it hits tomorrow, can you give Attorney London a little piece?
A finder's
little piece of that?
Yes.
You know, if you play that number because of this song, if it comes out, just give her brother a little love. That's all I'm asking. And then, of course, I have to say hello to my wonderful, beautiful wife, Kelly, who is listening. And then, you know what, I should probably do this more, but I'm going to do it now. I just want to say hello to all of the listeners who tune in to the Legal Line every Thursday. So grateful for you tuning in, just so grateful. You know what? if you get an opportunity, this show or maybe even some of the shows in the future, why don't you invite your friends and your family to tune in? We have some laughs, we have some great information, and invite your friends to tune in to the Legal Line every Thursday at 3:30, and have them tune in to Attorney Kim and the team and the whole WVON platform. We should be inviting our friends and family to listen to the station because, again, there is great information on WVON. I am an avid listener myself, and so make sure your friends and family, because they may have forgotten to about WVON. They may have listened many years ago and not listening as much anymore, and they didn't even realize it was even still on. So just remind your friends and family to tune in. Again, it's really a great station.
I think that's really a really good shout out. And, when we talk to people in the community all the time, and we'll say, I'm on WVON. Oh, yeah, I listen to that. I've grown up listening to that. But every once in a while you get someone who says, I used to listen to that. And they really haven't listened since it's been talk radio. Yeah. So they, still remember the music, et cetera. I'm like, well, you got to tune in because we're doing some big things over here.
Right.
Yeah, and we have to invite them to listen, and we have to invite them to invite their friends to listen as well. So I'm just taking the opportunity to invite you listeners to invite your friends to tune in. Again, they won't be disappointed because there's so much great information, great shows. Matt's show is terrific. Perry's show is always terrific. You and Attorney Kim and Mr. Teva, your show is excellent. And so have your loved ones tune in. They won't be disappointed. You know what? Today I want to talk about something. You know what? We had a great conversation last week, Attorney Kim, and the conversation last week was why are African American seniors doing better than African American Gen Xers, Yers, and Zers. Those are younger people. And we had some great calls from Art. We had a great call from Smokey Joe. And we had a great call from Miss Lee. And Miss Lee talked about the need for younger black folks to realize the benefits of marriage as it relates to wealth accumulation. Okay? And believe me, I know that probably more than anyone because we see so many African-American married couples in our office, people who have been married 50, 55, 60 years or longer. And I had a couple in my office married today, married 62 years. And these are just hard-working people who have stayed married, stayed committed to each other, overcome obstacles that you're going to encounter over a course of 62 years of marriage. And they have done well for themselves. They have homes that are paid for, money in the bank, money in mutual funds, money in IRAs, money in annuities, and they have done really well. But you know what? The question that I have today is really, what are we leaving to the younger generation? Everyone is talking so much about generational wealth. If I hear generational wealth one more time, I'm going to scream. Okay? And the reality is there is wealth in the black community. We don't talk about that enough, in my opinion. We talk about so often poor people, indigent people, and they are there, and we should be talking about them. But we should be giving more information to middle-class folks. You know what? When you talk about politics, Democrats and Republicans, they are all vying for the middle-class votes. You know what? Black folks are the only race, and again, perhaps rightfully so, that we spend so much time on poorer folks, and we don't spend enough time on middle-class information for middle-class people and families. And I think we should do that because, again, there is a significant number of middle-class black folks here in America. And so my question today is, what are we really leaving to our children and grandchildren when we talk about leaving them generational wealth? Anybody have any answers to that? What are we leaving them?
Well, I'd read a piece recently that talked about, instead of just talking about the tangible things that we leave, more importantly, making sure that we leave them the knowledge of not just how to acquire the wealth, but how to sustain it.
Well, you know what? I'll take a stab at answering that question. Here's the bottom line from my perspective, what I see people coming to my office leaving their children and grandchildren. There's really not only, but there are three primary things that I see people are leaving their loved ones, where you're talking about generational wealth, where you're talking about a lot of money, a small amount of money, less money, but they're leaving them real estate. That's homes, That's multi-unit property. Sometimes it's land in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. I had a family in today, they're leaving property in Louisiana to their children. So they're leaving them real estate, one, or they're leaving them money, mutual funds, stock accounts, life insurances, bank accounts, IRAs, mutual funds. Or they're leaving them stress. One of the three things, or sometimes two of these things, sometimes even three, but they're leaving real estate, money, financial accounts, or they're leaving stress. And the stress usually applies when there is no estate planning. So even if you leave a lot of money, even if you leave quite a bit of real estate, if there is no estate planning to pass it to your loved ones, you're also leaving them quite a bit of stress. So then the question is, well, who are you leaving the money to? Well, typically people are leaving money to their children, their grandchildren. People love their grandchildren. And perhaps you're leaving it to some attorney as well. So if you have money, you've done well for yourself, you have a home that's paid off, you have some money in your financial accounts. If you don't have the estate planning, you are not just leaving money to the children and the grandchildren, but you're leaving money to some attorney as well, because the cost of probating your estate can be significant. I had a client last week, and she had the original deed to her home that she bought in 1972, I believe it was. She paid $32,000 for the home. The home is now worth over $500,000. Of course, the home is paid for. That's real money that she's leaving to her children. That's significant. Okay, and we see this often where people are leaving these kinds of homes that are paid for. They're leaving financial accounts to their loved ones, and they have no estate planning. And as a lawyer, I'm trying to tell you, if you don't have the estate planning, you're not only leaving the money to the children and the grandchildren, but you're leaving it to some dang on lawyer as well. And really, you can avoid that.
I mean, that's a really good message. I don't think people know that.
And I want to talk about, again, we don't talk enough about middle class wealth that black people hold. You know what? The reality is real estate values are skyrocketing all over the country. They're skyrocketing on the south side of Chicago. They're skyrocketing on the west side of Chicago, the south suburbs, west suburbs. All around the country in Washington, D.C. I have a client in Washington, D.C. She bought her house for $50,000+. The house is worth more than $1 million now. Okay, she's 85 years old. She's leaving the property to her daughter, and she has a special needs son that she's leaving it to. So we did a living trust for her, so she can leave her son some money that's going to be managed by the daughter, and it's not going to jeopardize his SSI benefits. So these properties are skyrocketing in value, and we talk about leaving generational wealth so often, but so many African-American people, they are not putting plans in place to leave what they have worked so hard for, and many of them are leaving quite a bit of money to their children and grandchildren down the road.
It's not only in the area of when we're talking about the estate planning and this idea about not talking enough about middle class, and let's not even say middle class. Let's look at something different. I was having a conversation with some people. They were not African American. Everyone was, professional person, and we're talking about policies. And as soon as I say, yeah, we definitely have to have some stronger policies in certain areas, the first thing that a white person said to me, well, you don't think we're doing enough in criminal justice? And I'm like, so here's the thing. We know that criminal justice is an issue, but you have to take for granted that most African Americans are not going to come into contact with criminal justice system, and there are still many other policies that we need to help impact our community. Don't look at black people as the sum total of what's happening with the criminal justice system, and that's the only thing that we have issues with. It's like having these conversations every day. It's infuriating.
But it is to me as well. But Attorney Kim, you know what? Sometimes we as African American people and the African American community, we fall into that same trap. Yeah. We spend so much of our time talking about criminal justice systems. That's a legitimate issue. We spend so much time talking about poverty. That's a legitimate issue. But I think we spent more time, at least some time, talking about middle class families, middle class needs, giving information to middle-class people some of these people in some of these lower classes, they will rise to the occasion. You know what? And so they'll strive for the middle class. But sometimes, from an information perspective, we don't even give some of the lower class people, if you will. I don't know if that's even an insulting term, lower class, but for lack of a better term, I'll use that one. We don't even give them something to strive for because we stay in that space for so long in terms of dwelling on it. We should be talking more about middle class people as well. And some of these people in some of those classes, for lack of a better term, lower classes, they'll strive to get into the middle class, and I think it would work that way.
I think it's probably working class. I think that's probably a much better term before people start calling up here.
Thank you.
Because I hear what you're saying. I just think that there has to be room for conversations for our community at every level, and we know that there are struggles. We get it. But there has to be room for conversations that bring everyone in so that every level can advance. Everyone can have what they need to do better, which is what is supposed to be the quote-unquote American dream.
But it should, and it should not be to the exclusion of middle-class black folks.
Right.
Middle-class black folks are sometimes isolated from the conversation.
Let me ask you this. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, please, Atiba.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of circle back to the thing that I mentioned earlier, because you can leave someone an asset, like you said. You can, like, I think you posited by saying you can leave somebody an asset and stress. And part of that stress that comes with an asset is if you don't know how to handle a blessing, then it can be a problem. What do you think about making sure that we leave behind generational knowledge as well as generational wealth?
Well, that's the point we're talking about. Middle class people need to have information that's pertinent to the middle class. And so you're right. Sometimes middle class folks, black folks, suffer from lack of information. They have done well for themselves. They have their homes. They have paid for. They have pensions. They've accumulated money, but they still may not have some information that could be beneficial to them and their families. And sometimes they aren't able to transfer that information to their children because they just don't have it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Notwithstanding the fact that they do have the assets, the money, the house paid for, worth $250, $300 or more, and they have a couple $100,000 in their bank accounts or more, they still don't have the information to pass to their children. So that's why I'm saying there should be more emphasis on, even on WVON, if I may say, on information to middle-class black people about estate planning, about life insurance. You know what? I'm just going to digress for a second. We black folks lose so much money that can be transferred via life insurance. If we had more conversations about the need for young black folks to get insurance when they're younger, okay, when they're 20s and 30s, when it's really very, very, very affordable, I would even dare say cheap in comparison to what it's going to cost if you get into your 40s and your 50s. We don't hear a conversation about that. Okay, and then you can get the kind of policy that you can pay off in 10 years and have $500,000 worth of insurance, $1 million or $2 or $3 or $4 million worth of insurance, where you are really guaranteeing generational wealth. I had a lady call me today. Her husband passed away at 56 years old, had a heart attack in bed. Okay, if he would have had a life insurance policy at 25 or 30 for $1 million or 2 or 3 or 5, man, that lady would be set. And so would the children. We don't get a lot of information about the benefits of those kind of things, and I think that we should.
I think we've got a call. Oh, no, not yet.
No, we don't have a call.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Attorney London. You know, the need to make sure that, you know, one, you develop the asset, and two, you develop the knowledge on how to maintain the asset is a great point. And your point today is not on deaf ears. We definitely need to talk more about the middle class, because that part of our community there is a vibrant portion of our community that lives and resides in that space, and we definitely need to acknowledge that.
Even when we talk about politics, you know what, we all, what the Democratic Party, when it addresses African American folks, is always really, the information and the conversation is always geared towards working class people, or in my opinion, working class people are middle class people as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not even almost talking about working class people when we address black folks. A lot of times we are talking almost exclusively about the criminal class, really to the exclusion of, again, hardworking people who are trying to buy homes, who have their homes paid off, and really are in a position to really do some terrific financial transactions and maneuvers and moves. But again, sometimes we just don't have the information. And I think we should be trying to give the middle class African American families and people more information that's going to be pertinent to them. Everything is not just for the criminal class, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that is a great point. And
because again, the research suggests that baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, are going to leave more money in real estate to their families than any generation in the history of the world. So that means people roughly between 55, 60 to 80 are going to leave more money to their families than any other generation in the history of the world. And that includes black folks as well. So that's a lot of money that's going to be transferred over the next 25 to 30 years. Black folks need information about how to do that and how to do it efficiently and how to do it with the savings and really how to do it where they can actually leave generational wealth. And so
I think you've really tapped on to something when you mentioned the life insurance policy. I think that might even be beneficial for us to kind of do a deep dive into that, because I've seen a lot of people talking about the ways that you can leverage life insurance as opposed to going to traditional banks if you want to, even leverage it early to build wealth.
You can accumulate wealth with life insurance, but one of the primary benefits of life insurance is when a person passes away, which we know we all are, you're going to really be able to leave substantial money to your wife, husband, children, grandchildren. And again, when you talk about generational wealth, one of the most straightforward ways to leave generational wealth is with life insurance. And so something we should talk about more, and we will.
Indeed. We want to thank you so much, as always, for enlightening us, teaching us, and edifying us with your knowledge and experience, and we look forward to doing it all again next week.
It is my pleasure. Attorney Kim, welcome back.
Thank you.
It is good to hear you. It was good to hear you yesterday, good to hear you today. I hope you feel much better. You certainly still sound good.
Well, I hope you'll keep listening, because we got high-power guests on today.
I will be tuning in indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
We'll talk to you next week.
When you need your estate plan done, call Attorney London.
773-721-3333.